Hello guys. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the idea of happiness. And this is a topic that has definitely been on my mind recently because I haven't been, I guess, as happy as I would like to be, as I had hoped to be at this stage of my life. And I think it's really important to basically understand that there are going to be times in your life where things just fall apart and you are not going to be happy. And it's a really difficult situation, especially if you had, been really happy and something happened. Um, whether somebody you love passed away, um, whether maybe you went through a divorce or a breakup, or the loss of a friendship, even the loss of a pet. Um, Difficult living situations. Maybe you were happy in one area and had to move to another area. There are tons and tons of things that happen to us in life that cause us to be unhappy. And I've been personally struggling with this myself because the natural human inclination is to search for happiness. That is a lot of times the motivation for doing almost anything. Why do you want friends? Because they give you comfort. You can talk to them, you can hang out with them, you're not lonely. Why do you want money? So that you don't have to stress out about it. So you can pay your bills, and so you have more money to do leisure activities, such as buying things that you want, going on vacations, whatnot. So happiness is one of the essential purposes that we do almost everything on this planet. And overall, there's nothing directly wrong with the pursuit of happiness. It's kind of what America was founded on in a way, but it does become a problem when you are facing difficult situations and you just cannot be happy no matter what you do. You can't pull yourself up out of whatever situation you're in or uncomfortable feeling that you're going through. And that's when the goal to be happy becomes more of a hindering quality than it does a helpful one. And I've had to realize this myself as, you know, with a lot of personal things I'm going through, like financial debt and, breakup and, things that situations I really want out of. And there are certain reasons why I'm not as happy as I was this time 2 years ago. And I watched a very inspiring video by Teal Swan. She's on YouTube, and she's a spiritual catalyst, and she talks a lot about just the human conditions, and she's very inspiring for those of us who are on a certain spiritual path. But even those, even if you're just trying to live your life, she's very helpful. And she made a video about happiness, and basically her advice was to stop trying to be happy when you're not, because the more you want something, the more out of reach it's going to be for you. And basically her advice is to just go with the flow, stop trying to fight the wind, let the wind take you where it may. And that's not to say just sit around and do absolutely nothing. Obviously, control the things you can control, but sometimes there are things you cannot control, and sometimes that includes your state of mind. And so Teal Swan does discuss this in greater lengths on her channel. But it kind of inspired me to talk a little bit about it because I found some of her advice really helpful, and some things that I've learned myself I found kind of helpful. And my videos have been like way longer than I intended, so I'm going to just try to make this very short and sweet, as short as I can, and hopefully not go over 10 minutes. Basically, I found in my personal life, the more I am focusing on how desperately unhappy I am and how I want this and don't have it anymore, and how I was happy and now all of a sudden I'm not, and I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go, and I feel, trapped sort of back against the wall. I try to make a turn and there's a wall, and then I make another turn and there's another wall, and then there's a wall here and a wall there. And surrounded by walls. And basically, it hasn't gotten me very far. It's only made me more upset because I'm desperately trying to be happy when, honestly, I'm currently not meant to be happy right now in this period of my life. And the reason I want to make a video about this is I think it's something that every human being struggles with from time to time. Nobody's happy 100% of the time, and if they tell you that they are always, always happy, their whole lives have been nothing but happiness, they're lying to you, basically. Or they just choose to filter out the negative things because it's too painful, but nobody's happy 100% of their entire lives. That's just not possible. And so it also, the human condition is also connected. We are not separate from most of the laws of nature, basically. So, for instance, that's why they tell you, on the beach, when the lifeguard isn't there, you see that little sign on the beach that says if you get caught in a current, if you're swimming, you get caught in a current, don't fight the current because you're just going to go more and more out to sea, and drown. If you just stay calm and let the current take you where the current wants to take you, you will most likely land on shore safe and alive and a little traumatized, but basically okay. And the same sort of rules that we see in nature apply to us as human beings. And if you're in a situation that you can't tolerate anymore, or you're just very unhappy and you can't take it, you can't breathe, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to fix anything, best thing that you can do in some cases is to do nothing. And that's obviously way easier said than done. We all want to be able to feel like we have some control over our mental state of mind, but if you are swimming against that current, the more you try to swim against it, the further out to sea you're going to be pulled. And so it's very, very, very important that when you're in a state of despair or just overwhelming emotional pain, not just situational, obviously, a lot of emotional pain is caused by situations that happen to us, but not just that. Any really bad situation, obviously, you're going to want to eventually get out of the dark place you're in and become happy, and everybody wants to be happy. It's a natural human instinct to want happiness. But the more you keep pining for it, the more that you're focused on the fact that you don't have it, the worse you're going to end up feeling. And I'm sure that you guys have experienced that in your life where you've been very unhappy, or maybe you are really unhappy now, and you're fighting against it because you want that previous state of, happiness, and it's getting harder and harder for you, and you're just feeling worse and worse and more depressed and more anxious. That's because you're just not going with the flow anymore. And sometimes you have to just, as difficult as it is, and it's not easy, you have to trust that the current is pulling you in whatever direction that you're going to be. And so the essential idea in this message is that don't, as they say, do not try to chase the butterfly, let it kind of land on your shoulder. Do not try, I know it's hard, try not to focus on how unhappy you are, and instead channel that. Some of the most creative works of writing and art have come from total states of despair and confusion. And when you guys are feeling that way, it's important that you acknowledge it, and instead of trying to run away from what you're feeling, and sometimes you have to sit with these negative emotions so that they can be released from you. And again, this is turning into a longer video than I intended, but my main message to you is to stop chasing happiness. Accept the misery. Accept that you are not happy at the moment, and maybe you're not meant to be right now. Maybe suffering can teach us great, great lessons as human beings here. Suffering is usually our greatest teacher, and it sucks. Nobody likes it, But it's very important that you stick with it and stop trying to run to the state of happiness, because most likely you will be happy again. It'll come, but it'll come to you and things will start to fall into place again. But you have to just stop trying, stop running for it, because the more you run, the more you're going to be out of breath and the more it's going to run further from you. Kind of like when you're trying to chase like your pet because, I don't know, your dog escaped the leash and you're trying to chase them and they're just running away from you. Kind of the same situation with happiness. The more you chase it, the more it's going to be even more out of your reach. So to be happy is to just let go of the idea of happiness and accept the fact that being happy is actually not a bad thing. You're learning lessons. Sorry, being unhappy is not a bad thing because you're learning lessons, you're gaining wisdom, and sometimes it's the times where you need contrast. If you didn't have contrast, you wouldn't know what happiness was in the first place, and you wouldn't appreciate it anymore. So if you're going through a great trials right now, stick with the feelings. Stop trying to control things that you can't change. Control the things that you can change, and take small steps towards your goals. But don't expect that you're just going to be able to just be happy. And you can watch us more on Teal Swan's channel. She's very, very inspirational. She's helped me a lot, and that's all I wanted to say. Okay, bye.